Recently, I've started working as a sole trader on top of my day job, which means I've had to learn a whole lot around tax, deductions, and what the IRD actually wants from me. So if you've ever tried to make sense of the official IRD guides, you'll know they're packed with information but spread across dozens of pages and documents, and not exactly that easy to digest. That's where AI comes in. It's designed to synthesize large volumes of information and surface the key answers that you're actually looking for. So in this video, I'll show you how I set up a custom ChatGPT bot with the official New Zealand tax information documents from IRD that helps me answer common tax questions faster and with more clarity. Just a heads up, this isn't financial advice at all, it's just a tool to help interpret the real IRD guidance and make it actually usable for the everyday person. So here's a quick example of what the chatbot can do. If I ask it how to calculate my home office expenses, if I use one room for work and split bills with my flatmates, and then go through the process of identifying the business use area, applying the business use percentage to the shared costs, split the bills before applying the percentage as well, that if you're going 50-50, there's two of you in the flat, you got to do that before the cost, and then also keeping good records, giving some additional notes, but then also the source of where it's finding that information from, which is useful for going back and fact checking. So the first thing I did was went over to the official IRD website and went onto their forms and guides tab. And this has all of their public-facing information around tax and codes, etc. And so I can go through here and search any relevant information for me. For example, the individual tax return is important, so I would click into here, and then I'd scroll down, and then there's a download to PDF button there. So I've got a whole file, went through, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 documents here that could be related to the questions that I would like to ask it. So the documents that I've chosen to load up that are most relevant to me is the individual income tax return, smart business guide, GST guide, general depreciation rates, depreciation guide, and then also the Tax Administration Act and Income Act. And as you can see, there's a huge amount of pages. This one has almost 4,800, whereas these ones have 40 to 50 range. And so synthesizing all of that information is going to be a huge time saver rather than me trying to read through and trying to understand every aspect to answer a really small part that may be applicable to my situation. Now this is really important that you actually download all of this information because you may have heard of the term hallucination before. So if I went and asked just the normal ChatGPT version, hey, can you tell me what my tax code is, all of this kind of information, the amount of data that ChatGPT is actually trained on, it's quite likely that it blends information that's either old or not New Zealand related. It's getting a lot better at this, but we want to really minimize that effect. And so we can upload these specific documents for it to reference, and then it will ignore that other information and really focus on these knowledge sources. And then when we actually ask it questions, we can go, hey, make sure that you actually provide reference to where you're getting this information from, which helps that fact checking. So what we're going to do next is come over to chatgpt.com and go over to their Explore GPTs page. And this is where we can create custom versions of ChatGPT for our need. You can also do this in Google Gemini. They have their little Gems feature, which works the exact same. So if you want to follow through with Gemini or ChatGPT or even other tools, you can do that as well. So then we can go over to the top right and go on the Create button, and this will bring us to a blank custom GPT. On the left-hand side, we have all our customization menu, and then on the right-hand side is like a testing window. So once we make some changes on the left, we can then test it on the right and see if it's giving us the results we actually are looking for. So we can give it a name. We're going to call it IRD Assistant for now. Description, this is just for your own reference. It doesn't affect how the agent or chatbot actually works. So we're just going to say, helps me understand IRD documents. Then the system instructions, this is the most important part. It's also known as a system prompt. And so it kind of works like every time I send a message to ChatGPT, this message is sent as well. So it kind of combines that together, and it's about how it behaves, what it should do, where it should look, all of that kind of information. And so I'm going to open this up. I'm going to paste this one in here, and I can leave the link of this prompt in the description and or the comments. And it pretty much just goes through, you're a reliable, knowledgeable AI assistant trained on the New Zealand tax law from IRD guidance, and your role is to help users understand their tax obligations. Gives it some information about the documents that it has access to and what it must do, that it's only to use direct excerpts or clear summaries from the sources, not to make up the information. It needs to cite the sources, and if it can't actually answer it, it needs to say that they're not able to answer it based on the documentation. And of course, it is not any financial advice. It's only informational purposes, and for any actual financial advice, you must consult a tax accountant. So you can go through and customize something like this as much as you want for your own purposes, but for now we're just going to leave that how it is. Then there's also conversation starters that gives us some example prompts. We're just going to leave that blank for now. And then knowledge is the second most important part, or maybe the most important part, is where we actually upload this IRD documentation as well. So we need to go into here. I've got this New Zealand IRD documents. I've got all of them in here. Control A, open, and then all of them will load into the agent itself. And so, yeah, two most important things. You've got to have the instructions, tell it what to do, but then you've also got to provide the knowledge of what it should be looking at. Scroll down, recommended model doesn't really worry us at the moment because it's only for my own personal use. And capabilities, web search, canvas, and image generation. Image generation canvas we can turn off. Web search is, again, up to you. If we leave this on, it can go and search the kind of live information from the IRD website, but then it could also potentially look at wrong websites. So for now, because we've uploaded the documents, we're going to turn that off. And then actions, we're just going to leave it as is for now. So now we're all happy with that, we can go and actually test it with some questions. And so one of the pretty common question is, how do you actually calculate your home office expenses if you use one room for work and then you split the bills with your flatmates? And so what we're expecting, kind of the result here, is it will go through, search these documents that we've given it, provide reference to the answers, and we'll see here. So the first thing is identifying the business use area. So it's us saying that you need to determine how much area of your home is actually used for business. So if your home is 100 meters squared and your workroom is 10 meters squared, that is the percentage of business use of your house. Then you've got to look through and apply the business use percentage to the shared costs. So for your rent, power, gas, internet, cleaning costs, and mortgage/interest rates. And then you split it based on however many people are in your flat. And so if there's two people, you split it 50-50. If rent is $600 a month total, you pay $300. But then because of the business use area percentage, you then get $30 a month as a tax write-off. And it also mentions what IRD expects, that you keep records of your floor plan, copy of utilities and rent bills, notes, and log of the work that you're actually doing. And then it also says the source of where the information's coming from and what page it's on as well, which is really useful to go back and actually fact check this information that's coming back from it. We can test it with another one and put in, if I bought a new laptop for business and for personal use, how do I claim depreciation on that asset? And so again, we need to determine the business use percentage. If you use it 80% for business and 20% for personal purposes, 80% of that cost is depreciable. Then you choose the method, either doing diminishing value or straight line, and then you calculate the depreciation based off that per year going forward. And again, keeping the records, asset description, data purchase, cost, percentages, all of that kind of information, and again provides the sources for that, which is really helpful to go back and fact check. As you can see, it is a very helpful tool for me to understand all the different aspects of tax in New Zealand, rather than manually reading through the thousands of pages of documents. But it's really important to note that it's not providing financial advice. It's purely synthesizing the publicly available IRD information and guides, and therefore isn't a replacement for a registered accountant. If you're interested in AI tools for business or personal use, I post content weekly on this channel, so leave a like and subscribe. And if you need help with anything AI related in New Zealand, reach out to me from my email in the description below. Cheers.